Recently I demonstrated a video printer which produced really quite impressive grayscale photos on thermal paper, and that got me interested in seeing how well the cheaper thermal printers performed in a couple of current products. So I picked up one of these Bluetooth printers and also a kid's camera that has a built-in thermal printer, and let's find out how I got on with them. We'll start off with that Bluetooth printer. Now, the design of the packaging gives the impression that this is aimed at children, but I think it's supposed to skew towards an older demographic. It relies on a smartphone app, which is really quite sophisticated in its functionality, as we'll see in a moment. It's quite a neat little device. It's charged via USB micro lead. There's just the one button on it, and that turns it on or off and also initiates pairing, and the illumination of the button changes colour depending upon the battery charge status. It comes supplied with one roll of thermal paper that's pre-installed, but generally they tend to be sold with a bundle of different colours of paper rolls. The operation of the printer is completely reliant on the accompanying app that's available for iOS or Android. Everything you print has to go through this. Fortunately, it is very well put together, with far more features than I expected. We'll start with printing a photo. Now, once you've selected an image, the app then allows you to see what it would look like when it's printed. And from that preview, you can see that this printer doesn't do grayscales. It's just black and white, and any shades are created via dithering. Now, being thermal, the printing is quick and the image produced matches that preview very accurately. And whilst these images, these printouts, aren't a patch on a Polaroid or a Fuji instant photo camera or even a zinc print, each image costs a tiny fraction of one of those, and also have their special retro charm of their own. And let's tick off all the usual stuff. Yes, the prints don't last forever. No, don't laminate them. Yes, it's like a modern day Game Boy camera and printer, and no, it's not to be taken seriously. It's just a novelty. They're curly little prints on pieces of paper. This isn't something that you'd replace a proper photo printer with. Now, the photo editing features in the app are well featured, and there's a range of filters as well as crop and rotate tools. You can also, as you can see here, print out a larger photo by dividing it up into 5 strips as a maximum, but you need to trim off the borders of each of those prints if you want to try and seamlessly stitch them together. Now, before I bought this, one use I had in my head that I could perhaps put it to would be to produce printouts of notes and to-do lists and shopping lists and things from the Notes app that's in my phone. Now, of course, you can't send it directly from there, though, unfortunately. You have to copy the text and then paste it into the Notes app that's built into the piece of software. So it's not as easy as I first thought, but if you were just to put your stuff in the Notes app here, there's lots of different options. You can insert black and white images into here as well, of which there are many. Now, one nice feature that's in the software is a built-in QR code and barcode generator. In the case of a QR code, you just write the text and it'll generate the code for you that you can then print out or you can save to use again in the future. And so far, this app does seem very robust. It really hasn't given me any stability issues at all. It's well put together. Now, let's just do another quick demo. It's quite impressive, this, but I'm really not too sure how many people would use it. What happens is you get a video, you upload it through the app. It then produces a frame from that video and prints it out. And then if you were to scan that frame of printout with the AR part of the application, that then links with the video that you've got in the cloud and plays the video back that's associated with the image. Now, the idea is that you give a printout of an image to someone, and provided they downloaded the app, they'd be able to play the video back that your printout was linked to. The one issue I had with this was that when you print these things out, you can produce a QR code on the bottom to give to the person so that they know where to download the PERIPAGE app from. And that QR code was too small for the camera on my phone to recognise. But as I mentioned, I can't see many people actually wanting to use this properly, but it just makes for a fun demo. So overall, if you were expecting high quality photo printouts, well, of course you'd be disappointed. But then again, if you were, then you'd be expecting way too much. This is a budget pocket thermal Bluetooth printer that relies on a smartphone and its accompanying app to produce small black and white and dithered printouts on curled up pieces of paper, and if that's what you want, well, this does that, and it does it well. So now onto the camera. Now there are two colours and two designs of each, so a total of 4 different options, and there was a discount on the pink model, so I got that one. They'll all work the same, of course. Even without the discount though, this seems like it would be the better deal of the two things I'm showing you, as for the same price as the first printer as well as the printer, you also get a camera that can also take video, and it claims it's HD video. Oh, and it includes a 32GB micro SD card. Now inside the box you get the instructions, a camera, neck strap, USB charging lead, micro USB, and 3 rolls of paper. One of those rolls is already installed in the camera. I was surprised to find that this has 2 cameras on it as well. There's a rear facing one. Now this looks like a peelable screen protector, though it just turned out to be an adhesive tag on the corner of the screen. It really makes you wonder what other corners are being cut to save money. Well, of course we're going to find out. For all the professional photographers, I should mention there's no tripod screw mount on the bottom of here, so sorry about that. It might not be the thing to use for your wedding videos, but we've got a 32GB micro SD card slotted in the side here next to the charging socket, and there's a reset hole there as well. So let's turn it on. We're greeted with a jolly tune and the second odd statement of the day. I love deep, it said on the screen there. Now I'll just go through the icons on this screen. So top left is photo mode, next across is video recording mode, even though the icon looks like one you'd use for playback. Next it's the files folder to review your previously shot photos and video. Then along the bottom we've got games, MP3 playback, and bear in mind there's no headphone socket on this, you're just listening through a little tinny built-in speaker, and then finally settings. Now I'm sure you were intrigued about what games were on this as I was, so well, it turns out there's a really dodgy version of Tetris. It had the music out of the Game Boy version but a very wide playing area, and there's an underwhelming version of Snake, and then finally there's one of those box shifting puzzles as well. So yeah, I wouldn't buy this as your #1 games machine. So with that out of the way, we'll go back into that settings menu, and these should definitely be taken with a pinch of salt. It claims to be able to do up to 40 megapixel stills and videos of up to 2.5K. Of course it's upsampling or upscaling or what, up something anyway, up its own. Anyway, let's just emphasize one thing here though. For my demo photos and video, I've got the time and date stamp turned on. Yes, it can be turned off, but I think that's the least of your worries. We'll get into it later. Another thing that you can do is switch off the auto print. Now the camera will take a digital still and then automatically print it out, but you can turn off the printout and just use it as a digital camera if you want. Or while it's counting down before it starts printing, you can press any button. That will stop the print from happening, but you still retain that digital image. Now I've got to say I did a load of tests with this, far more than you're going to see in this video, and the reason was because all the printouts I was getting out of it were really underwhelming. They were very contrasty. There was a lot of detail blown out, and I spent therefore a lot of time adjusting the settings, the density of the printout, as well as the lighting conditions. I was really trying to get one good quality printout from this thing, and I really didn't have any success. Now I'm going to show you the stills and the video that the camera took directly off that micro SD card. And the image quality here, it really takes me back well over 10 years to some of those first keyring cameras that I tested out, and the quality back then, well, it was kind of passable, but things have moved on. Even at the very low budget end, you can get much better results than this. Now I know it's for kids, and I'll take that into account, and they could be reasonably happy with that. There are a number of effects and there's borders that the kids could have fun playing with. But it is just a shame that the quality isn't just a bit better, you know, closer to the standard of the average budget dash cam that's been made in, say, the last 5 years. To give you a better idea about the video and sound quality, I'm now recording directly onto the camera itself. The sound is, of course, also coming through the camera's built-in microphone. The lens I'm using is the one on the back next to the LCD screen. So it's the selfie camera, but they're both the same quality as one another. We're recording in 1080p. Well, at least that's what it says it is in the menus. But looking at the quality of the printouts, it looks to me like they could be quite decent. Better than the first printer. That was just doing black and white with dithers for the grayscales. This actually seems to be printing out proper grayscales. So I think what I should try and do is bypass the cameras on this and put a JPEG on the memory card and then try printing that out. Now, the camera isn't designed to print anything that it hasn't taken, so I had to rename my JPEG files to fit in with the naming sequence the camera expected before it would recognise them. And notice also there that the video was MPEG-2 AVI files, so the traditional low-end, cheapo, non-name camera stuff that I'd hoped had died off by now. But anyway, here are the 4 test pictures that I'm going to print. So let's see how these turned out. So these are the scans of the prints from the camera of those images, and as you can see, they look a lot better than anything the camera itself had shot and had printed out. We can see they're using grayscales here as well. Now, just for a contrast, here's those same shots printed by that little Bluetooth printer I started off with, using its dithered technique. Now, I'll run through them side by side. The blue printer's on the left and the pink camera is on the right, and I prefer the stylized results from the dithered effect over the 4th generation photocopied look of the grayscale pictures. It's just personal preference. Which one do you prefer? I mean, it's entirely down to you. But again, remember that these are the results I got using photos that weren't taken with that camera. The real comparison between the ones the camera can take and the other ones, it's more like this. A smartphone photo on the left printed via Bluetooth versus a toy camera photo reproduced via its built-in printer. Now, here's more of the results, 100% generated and printed by the pink camera itself. It's not good, is it, really? It's a shame the results are so poor, as it's not really a bad idea. A cheap instant camera for kids to play around with, negligible cost per print, easy to use all-in-one system, grayscale printing, but I think even young children would end up being pretty disappointed with the results. Then on the other hand, you've got that little Bluetooth printer that needs a smartphone to work, and it relies on a specific app, and it doesn't do grayscale printing, and yet those dithered pictures have a charm all of their own that is just missing from the other system. Now, fortunately, it's not my job to try and sell you either of these. I mean, if you want to buy one, by all means, feel free to do it and use one of the affiliate links. But, you know, look, honestly, I'm not saying that either of these things are all that great. I just wanted to show you what you should expect from these budget thermal printers, and now you know. So that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.